The pineal gland is actually powered by your thoughts. The problem is our thoughts are so human in nature. So where the demiurge comes in, the demiurge's goal is to keep you the absolute human, because the absolute human thought is a food source for the demiurge. And I'm gonna get in. I just want to put that out there because I'm gonna get to the demiurge in detail as well. So the pineal gland, based upon your thought process, based upon your advanced thought process, your thinking outside of the box, your visualization, your imagination, and your creativity is fed light, or is going to receive these, or you're feeding it light through your thoughts. Let me say that. And that light is the gasoline that gets it to open up to receive higher messages. If you think in humanity's terms all day, every day, the only information you're getting is from either your ego or your gray matter brain. Advanced thoughts, you must think outside of human thoughts. So if you're thinking about what black people need to do, we need to do this for the people, humanity, or human issues, Donald Trump, your gas bill, electric bill, and mortgage or rent, the police killing black people, all the shit that black people fill themselves up with, I don't even have to ask the individual how deep or how advanced they are. You're filled with human thoughts. Therefore, by me just understanding the concept of human thought versus spirituality, I already understand what frequency of spirituality you're on just by the shit that's coming out your mouth. Before you try to be scientific and say Hotep, Mayat, and Beloved, and Ashe, I already know. No matter how much you say that, you think like a human. Your human thought is dominant in you. Because you're having a human experience, you are not going to get away from human thought. But does your human thought dominate you, or does your spirituality dominate you? And when your spirituality dominates you, you think outside of the realm of just human concepts, or at least that's your attempt. And when you do that, you are actually reaching out to things beyond this reality. And if you reach out, you definitely, what you do is now create a vortex. And in that vortex, you're going to pull down your answer. But if you have human thought, because this happens sporadically as well, but if you have human thoughts, when your answer comes, what your brain or your ego tends to do is rationalize it within a human framework. Not because you're doing this to make it useful for you, because you're doing this because you don't have any other concept of how to operate. So, when I get a channel, which is what these are called, based upon an open pineal, based upon creating a thought frequency that opened up a vortex and gave me an answer. When I get that answer, and it may be weird or unorthodox or out of the norm, you still have to figure a way to put it in a human context so it can become usable in this realm, to turn it into all those things that sustain your human body and your family. But if you cannot take that, or at least acknowledge and understand this advanced concept that came to you and put it in a usable form, you're going to put it in a mundane form because that's all you know. That's as far as your mind or how you have chosen to expand your mind. So the more your mind expands, the more light frequencies you're dealing with or trying to grasp onto. Therefore, the more your pineal is fed, and the more your pineal can reach out for more complex concepts. Now, the demiurge is the name for, in Gnosticism, and I believe it's a Greek word, actually. And Gnosticism, the Gnostics were later-day Coptic, what they call Coptic Egyptians, or later-day Egyptians. And they put down and spoke on many concepts of creation. Their whole thing was, look, There's no more temples, initiations, no more. This Egyptian thing is pretty much over. These are later day Egyptians. So what we're going to do is talk about what the Egyptians were doing whole studies, initiations, schools, and lifetime learnings about. We're going to give it to you in a microwave version, concepts. And this became something called Gnosticism or Gnosis. Okay. And they have a mythology. In fact, out of Gnosticism, the Gospels were born. So the Gospels, as you know it, its origin comes from Gnosticism. Gnosticism was the mystical aspect of Christianity. Then this later day crap, after it was rehashed, retold, and revisited, is nothing more than the later day dumbed down, watered down slavery concept that came from something that was actually divine, something that was actually advanced and mystical, Gnosticism. And in the Gnostic mythology, they talk about the creator of this place that you are in now, Earth and the astral world. And they don't talk about it kindly at all. They tell you, in a nutshell, it's the vomit, the mistake, the abortion, and there's 20 other deflammatory ways they describe where it is you live and what it is you are as the human being. In the mythology, they talk about a false creator god. His name is Yaldabaoth, which later became Yahweh, Vahi, from the Jewish thing. And they talk about his debauchery, his mistake, his ignorance, his wickedness, cruelty, and his sheer stupidity of creating what you call Earth. And these beings on planet Earth, these animals, to worship him. How do they worship him? They worship him through what you just call regular nature. When you see a lion chasing a zebra, and that zebra got that fear in his eyes as he's running for his life, just this natural thing that you come to accept as that's nature and that's where we are and how it is. It's an act of evil by the Gnostic standard. They say your very existence brings death just because you have to eat. You have to kill just to survive. That in its very essence, they tell you, is evil. And this creator God that's got you down here doing this has to be evil in nature. They tell you just because evil exists on this planet, just because the evil exists, that's either a cruel motherfucker that made this place or an incompetent motherfucker that made this place. Take your pick. So they go very hard in the detail on what they call this false creator God, and it is known as the demiurge. He is the demiurge, or the demiurge energy. The demiurge is, in the Greek, Zeus and his posse. Zeus, just when you hear how they're giving hell to the humans all the time, lightning bolts, raping bitches, having fathering these demigods and just bouncing on their ass. You follow what I'm saying? Yep. There's a whole system of Zeus tearing you up. And why is he doing this to the humans? Because Tantarus, or the underworld, is actually the human body. And who he's torturing is actually his father and mother, the Titans, which are actually us. We are the Titans. So everyone's, I'm a god, I'm a goddess. Technically, you're a Titan, if you want to get to it. Because if you read the Enuma Elish with the Sumerian mythology, and you read the old ones, Tiamat and Astaroth, I believe his name is, the two creators that were intermingling in the waters and created all these gods. And all these gods started creating other gods. And then these great old ones, great mother looked and said, this is fucked up. Look at these egomaniac motherfucking gods. We got to destroy them all. And she raised up an army. And then Ea raised up another army to destroy the Great Mother and raised up Marduk. And Marduk destroys her and uses her body and sprinkles it around the earth. Where did we hear that before? Osiris gets cuts up and sprinkled around the earth. So they're telling the same story. And the old ones who are sprinkled around the earth are you and the melanin. It's over and over again. So they're trying to tell you you are actually older than the gods. The gods are actually the birth of the ego that you have now. And say it again. The gods are actually the birth of the ego. The gods rule planet Earth because the gods are creators. And the creation is the act of the ego. So if I didn't have an ego and they say, who are you? That's where you get this. I am that I am. If I have an ego and you say, who are you? You say, well, this is me expressing myself as a rose, as a kitten, as a hat, as a cat, as a pencil, as lead, as gold, as a flower. As all this shit down here is an expression of God, as we like to say, it's actually an expression of the ego. It's you proving God. You don't have to prove God. If you don't have to prove God, who are you? I am that I am, my nigga. Because if I said that on the street, it would be a different thing. If you walked in the room on some look at me kind of funny, what's up, nigga shit, you said, who's you, nigga? Nigga, my name is Panic, nigga. I did this, nigga. I've been dead. You better check about me and Google about me, nigga. You ain't heard about me. You going to hear about me. That's an ego, nigga. But if you walked in that same room and said that shit, yo, who's you, nigga? And I said, I am that I am. And just walk the fuck off. You may say, wait a minute. Maybe this nigga is something that he is. It comes from a different place. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the act of actually calling yourself a god is expressing the ego, because all you got to do is look at these niggas who are calling themselves gods. Out of control. Out of control. I'm Mayat, and I'm this, and I'm that. I remember some nigga was saying some shit to my man Shabazz, while Shabazz was about to fucking punch this nigga's neck out. So, nigga, I'm a priest of Ogun. And for that, Shabazz whipped his ass deeper. Because that shit don't mean nothing. That's your fucking ego, son. Nobody don't care about that. Right. No more than you sit around and say, I don't care. Somebody say, I'm a priest of fucking Jesus Christ. You wouldn't even care. So that don't mean nothing to nobody. It means shit to you and your fucking ego. And who else believes in that bullshit? That don't mean nothing. It only means what you make it mean. So it's not to shit on that as to being a priest of Ogun is bad or good. I don't care either way. Do whatever it is that floats your boat. What I'm saying is, as if you're using it to express your fucking ego, which you are, that's the problem we talking about. As I'm a god or this and that or whatever, or a child of whatever. And that is actually the true concept when you read the mythology of what the gods were. See, nobody's really fucking with Greek mythology because they think it ain't got nothing to do with them, but you got to read these energies or these concepts, because Greek mythology is ours. Greek philosophy is theirs. So in Greek mythology, the concepts, because we think it's something that is theirs and exclusive to them in the world, that's why you get more of that story out than you get some of these ancient black stories out. So in the mythology, you'll hear all about what the Titans are versus the gods. And when you see what the gods are actually doing, when you see what the gods are actually doing, you will say, these motherfuckers are actually menacing. Now, when you see the movie Clash of the Titans, the two new ones, they'll tell you straight out, these gods were getting weak because no one was praying to them. That was what the whole movie was about. Don't start praying to these niggas. You pray them, you're gonna start giving them power. So don't pray to them. Now this concept is real, because that demiurge Gnostic god that we were talking about, when he created man, from Gnostic mythology, they say man was just a worm crawling around like anybody else, and based upon fear, being hunted, the law of the jungle or whatever, or the law of wherever the fuck these niggas was, that anxiety of just living in this turbulent world was how this demiurge energy fed. Now, as a side note, they also said he couldn't do it alone. When they seen the attempt, there were 12 angels called the 12 evil archons that came down and helped him set this place up. Now, of course, that's the zodiac. So all you niggas sitting around, oh, you're a Taurus and you doing that, and that's why with a Gemini energy, look, read Gnosticism and you'll end that bullshit fucking system that you holding on to. Is any of this zodiac true? Absolutely yes. But if you understand the occult science of it, that runs your humanity. So it's true if you're participating in human thought, then a Leo shouldn't be with a Taurus, and a Gemini is going to be this, and a Taurus is going to be stubborn, because your humanity will dictate that. The concept has always been for you to rise above these animal zoo types to the higher aspect. The zodiac has two concepts, a lower and a higher aspect. You're supposed to be rising in each lifetime to the higher aspect. I'm a Taurus. I'm supposed to be rising to the higher aspect of Taurus instead of saying fuck it and being stubborn at everything and not listening to any motherfucking body. And this puts you in a number frequency out of that 12 evil archons, or that 12 frequency, into the 13 frequency. The 13 frequency is the Christ frequency. So he is his 12 disciples, which the root word means to discipline. He has disciplined that energy and become the middle point. That's why the sun hieroglyph is a circle with a dot in the middle. You're supposed to be that middle point, and it also represents the pineal as a Christ thinking, supernatural, not regular. And that's what I told you in the beginning. Human thought doesn't get you there. Human thought gets you to go around that fucking 12 all day. Leo, Gemini, Cancer. It gets you going around all day. That's your 12 human thought frequency. Your 13 Christ thought is a supernatural advanced thought. And that's where the conscious person is supposed to be on. The concept in even the name, Jesus Christ, is in Gnosticism. The Christ energy is what you're supposed to become, the 13, and that changes your thinking. So these 12 evil archons helped him build this reality. And this is all an act of the ego. Your very ego is the demiurge. Period. Okay. Your ego is the demiurge. So your ego, yes, will keep you out of pineal activity and probably is one of the most violators of it. And your human thought is what the demiurge or your ego wants to regulate you down to. That panic, frantic, fearful, day by day, every day is something to look at that you're scared of, police beatings. He needs you to be that. Now, when this happened, the mother sent down her divine sparks of light and put it in one animal on the planet. This animal was called man. Then man was able to stand upright and have a conflict in him. The conflict of the true light versus the conflict of darkness. And darkness just represents Set, the devil, humanity. Not evil and good, because the very act of existence to the Gnostic was evil. So it's not an act of doing good or doing bad. That has nothing to do with it. That's later day religion. So you were already considered evil. What you were doing was redeeming yourself as an upright man with these divine sparks. The divine spark is your soul, which created the conflict, where you get all the mythology of good versus evil, Horus versus the devil, Horus versus Set, all of these battles, because it's an inner battle now, because your divinity is calling you to know. That's why everyone's here on this radio show, because something in them still needs to know, while something in them is telling them the most human shit you can think of. You following what I'm saying? You did some human shit today, or just why fuck it, or even when you get on to some new shit, you start saying, is this really working? Am I just lighting a candle? Am I like, if I'm doing all of this to Captain America and you know, is it gonna work? Cops are still doing that. That questioning is demiurge thinking, because that's what that energy needs you to do. It needs you to exist here in all forms of ignorance, and you would, because pretty much every animal exists here, and it fights to exist here. So that part of you that fights to exist here is that demiurge, is that animal nature, is that ego, is those things. And you're not going to get past it as long as you have a brain. But what you need to do is understand it so you can rise above it, because the only place you need to rise above it is in your thought process. And that's really the key. That's really the alchemy. The true alchemy is mental alchemy. It is not you acting or talking or dressing a certain way to be more hotepi. Beloved, this is for the people. That's all bullshit. And that could be put past on someone who don't know no better. If they turn off your water, you fucking beloved hotep niggas will be eating each other in a week. This I promise.